YouTube. This is the Consistency Coach Show. As the Coach, episode number 3. I'm just double checking that we are all live. If you are listening live, let me know in the comments. If you are watching in the replay, please put hashtag replay and let's get going. I had really cool question this time. And let's start. I'm going to cover at least 2 questions as always, and I'm answering questions that were sent to me in advance. Likewise, you can feel free to share questions right here in the comments, and I'll cover them in the next episode of Ask the Coach, the Consistency Coach Show. Once again, my name is Noy Shani, and I'm the consistency coach at Freedom Lifestyle Creation. So we are going to start from the start, which means the first question by Eddie. Amazing question. How to overcome the fear of rejection? Whoa, like that's a huge one, right? Like everyone like has that sort of fear, or a lot of people have that sort of fear, and not a lot of people know how to, actually rise from it and actually do something to go past that. And to a lot of people, that sort of fear of rejection is coming back and back and back. Even if you seem that you've overcome it, you seem to be knocked for five every time by that fear, and it stops you from accomplishing things that you want in your life, or getting where you want to be or where you could be, right? So that's such a great question, Eddie. I really like that, and I'm going to give 2 possible ways. So first, what you want to understand is that fear of rejection does not really exist. Okay, I'll say that again. The fear of rejection does not exist. It's an illusion. It doesn't really exist. It is something that your mind created in response to a past experience. Now, having said that, so since it's an illusion and constructed by your mind, and the mind doesn't distinguish between real and imagination, we can play a legitimate trick on the mind by using the as-if frame. So, by asking yourself, what would it be like if there was no such a thing as rejection? And what would it be like if rejection was an illusion? I say that again, so until it's 16, so you might want to watch that again, right? So 2 questions you could ask, they're almost kind of the same. One is, so basically you are reframing the situation by asking, what would it be like if there was no such a thing as rejection? In order to ask that authentically, you need to accept that there's no such a thing as rejection and it's an illusion. Answer that. Ask yourself that and answer that. Even write it down. Then, secondly, what would it be like if rejection was an illusion or was just an illusion? Huh. You are forced to think and answer that question. That will get you out. So, this is the thing about a lot of um, things that are resolved linguistically. The answer to one solution, when people are looking for a strategy or for something that will get them out of a situation, it's typically the thing that they're not expecting that will get them off that situation and will get them that resolution. So it's most of the time it's that thing that sometimes sounds the most nonsensical, that doesn't make sense, questions that are worded kind of like backward way, that because what happens is those questions send your mind into some kind of confusion, and confusion also induces trance, and trance has you accept various other possibilities and solutions for certain things. So from a point of view of neurolinguistic programming, or just generally call it reframing, like an accepting a new perspective by confusing oneself, you with me, by confusing your own self by sounding that question like that. You can play it, you can record yourself, you want to voice it, or even, you know word it, write it down, and then have someone maybe you are trusting to read that for you or something like that. That sort of confusion will actually get you into trance, and that being in trance will get you to think of things in a different way that you haven't thought before. So that is the as if frame, that it's actually like as if there's like rejection is an illusion. Like you are actually behaving by asking the question, you are accepting that is actually an illusion. And then, to top it up, you want to understand that you cannot actually be rejected as a person, right? Like perhaps your idea was not accepted by another person who maybe was not interested or wasn't open for it at the time. But you, as your own self, you were never rejected. That's not even actually possible. So think of that, right? So amazing question. And I hope you got some value from that. And another way you can resolve that. So another way you could go is I want you to listen carefully to the following question. You want to read it out loud for yourself and write it down and write the answer down and verbalize the answer out loud. Okay? So you ready? The question is, what is the one thing I have not thought about that once I did will have the problem I used to have disappear? I said that again. What is the one thing I have not thought about that once I did will have the problem I used to have disappear? What's so special about this? Some of you that have been following me might know the answer. What does this do? You're wondering, right? It presumes your problem is already a thing of the past. So linguistically, it's so intelligent, it blows up the boundary of the problem. So literally, like, it's so crazy that I've got to repeat it again. What is the one thing I've not thought about that once I did will have the problem I used to have disappear? You can ask that with any problem, not just a fear of rejection, but this is really good for that one. I'm just double checking if I've got like any comments, like seen live. Actually, cannot access them at the moment. Oh, good. If you are getting value from that, let me know. Now, Eddie actually asked me another question, which I'm going to cover in this video. I'm just double checking. We are doing fantastic. 7 minutes in. So Eddie was asking another question: how to stay motivated when faced with an overbearing challenge or overbearing challenges. So love it, love it. So this is kind of a little related to the other one, but I want to start with the story. Around 1902, Edwin B. Twettmeyer, hope I don't murderize his name. He was one of the very first to come up with the knee-jerk reaction concept, or more specifically, classical conditioning. Right? You'll notice why I'm telling you all that story first. So um, Tweetmeyer came up with this knee-jerk reaction, and it was largely not accepted by the Americans. And then a year or two after, Ivan Pavlov, the Russian scientist, came and he took that concept and he went with it, and he had this experiment involving a dog. Have you heard of Pavlov's dog? So in that experiment, what he did, he presented the dog with a steak, and the dog would salivate when, so he rang a bell and then presented the dog with a steak. And then he tried something else. He noticed that when he rings the bell and there's no steak, the dog will still salivate. Now, what does that mean? Like for you and I, right? So it has huge implications. It means that there is a connection between the stimulus and the response. Okay, so if one wants to change their state, for example, say you are suffering, say you are experiencing fear of rejection or some kind of irrational fear or something that you don't like, another way you could reframe it, apart asking, utilizing what I've just said like before, and more specifically, how to stay motivated when faced with overbearing challenges, like Eddie's second question. One of the things you can do, there's this concept of anchoring. So anchoring is basically the idea that the dog would start salivating when the bell rang. So the bell is an anchor, is an auditory anchor. Okay, so that means that every time the bell would sound, even if there's no steak, the dog would salivate, right? Like, by the way, you could try that with a dog, but humans actually in the psyche behave like the same way. Like, perhaps not with the steak, maybe with that. You could try that out. But the thing is, what you can do is you watch carefully. So you want to prepare like your knuckle, and I'm going to do anchoring like with you, and you can try that after that, like wherever you are. Okay. So you want to think, um, can you remember a specific time that you felt totally motivated, like really, really motivated, like, yeah, let's go, right? And as you think of the time, go back to that time, step into your body, feel what you felt, see what you saw, hear what you heard, hear what you had, you said to yourself in those moments. Yeah, and really feel that, and then step on your knuckle right here. So you choose one, press on it, and press and keep it for between 5 and 15 seconds. Yeah, that's right, feel it. Right, that feeling of being totally motivated, and just when it starts dropping, release it. Just when it starts dropping, release it. Now, let's stop it at further. We are going to use the same knuckle. Can you remember a time that you felt totally confident? Totally confident. Like, yes, I can do it. Yes, I am doing it. Can you remember a specific time? And as you go back to the time, can you like, as you go back to the time, see what you saw, hear what you heard, feel what you felt, remember and hear the sound of your own voice to yourself in your own head. And once you feel that, press the same knuckle. Again, hold it again for 5 to 15 seconds. Yeah, that's right. Feel it. That feeling of being totally confident. And only once it starts dropping off after 5 to 15 seconds, then release it. And how about feeling of, can you remember a time you felt totally loved? Like totally loved and connected? Like, ah, that feeling of being totally loved. Go back to that time now, step in your body, see what you saw. Yeah, hear what you heard, including the sound of your voice in your own head. Feel what you felt, that feeling of being totally loved. And as you feel that, press on the same knuckle like that. Yes, yeah, that's right. Feels amazing, right? Hold it again for 5 to 15 seconds. Yeah, I know. Release it as soon as the 5 15 seconds, or as soon as you feel like it starts like kind of like evaporating. Because what happens when the stimuli um, is actually applied at the peak, then it gets anchored. Now what will happen if you've done that and follow correctly, and you can watch it again after that, every time that you press the same part on your body, it will trigger. In that case, I've done 3 emotions. I've done motivated, I've done feeling confident, and I've done feeling loved. Every time that you press that knuckle, it will trigger that. So this is something you can do very discreetly, like under the table. You can do like right now. And every time that you press that, what will happen is the most dominant out of I encourage you to do it with at least 3 or 5 of them. So this is something really cool. Now, how is that related to what Eddie was asking, how to stay motivated when faced with overbearing challenges? Is that whenever you feel that overbearing challenges, when you remind yourself a time that you felt totally motivated, a time that you felt a specific time, and do that, and step into your body and press on your knuckle, and then you can do it with yourself and do that with confidence and with love and laughter. Like, can you remember a specific time you really dropped on the floor laughing? Whatever you do it with, this will give you such a strong kinesthetic, like in your body, like feeling an emotional experience, that it will take away what you were feeling before. And the thing is, by applying this even once, it's yours. So you can do it like the next day and the following day after that and the following day after the following day. So I really, Eddie, those questions were absolutely amazing. So I'm going to wrap up this episode a tad bit early. That was, so usually I'm trying to get them to 15 minutes max. So that was Noishani, the consistency coach at Freedom Lifestyle Creation, episode 3 of Ask the Coach, the Consistency Coach show. And until the next time, I hope you got tons of value from this. Write in the comment if you got something, if you learned something new, and let me know if you are trying it and